Cold and a gloomy day here at Quest Diagnostics Training Center. It's Wednesday. The Giants are preparing for the Packers. I'm Brendan London, longtime New York Post sports columnist Mark Cannizzaro. This is your practice report. A lot to talk about, a lot to unveil. It feels like everybody who was on the beat had themselves a seat today. Mike Kafka, who was just named interim head coach, got a chance to make some statements to the media for the first time since taking over for Brian Daboll. I guess, what was your biggest takeaways from Kafka's media availability?
You know, Brandon, I think he handled himself well. Mike is not a very outward interview, if you will. I mean, obviously, as you know, we speak to him once a week, when the coordinators speak. I always find him to be a little bit nervous, a little bit, maybe not comfortable in his skin in that role. I thought today he did a pretty good job. I think it was clear he was, a little uptight, but, this is a guy that's had a number of head coach interviews, as you know, the last couple of years. So he's obviously aspires to do this. He's, I would certainly think preparing himself to do this. And this is a massive opportunity for him. I mean, this is a last 7 games of the season, I guess, right? Yeah, I mean, he didn't reveal a lot, but no coaches do, as you know. But, I thought he did lay out a little bit of a plan. He's going to tweak a few things with the schedule and whatnot, and as we'll talk about a little bit, with the staff.
With 7 games left, no Malik Neighbors, no Cam Scatterboo. It looks like Jackson Dart may miss this game, being in concussion protocol right now. We don't know what his status is. What would you call a successful rest of the season for Mike Kafka?
Certainly don't go 0-7. Let's start with that, right? Listen, I mean, hopefully, Dart's not going to play this week. Kafka already said that Jameis Winston will start, and hopefully Dart is back next week. He gets to play the last 6 games. You'd like to see the Giants win 3 out of their last 7 anyway, if possible, or if possible more. But how realistic that is, I don't know. Again, I mean, we've seen Dart operate with a very thin receiving core, and I was just talking about it at practice with a colleague of mine a little while ago. The good quarterbacks make, the receivers around them different. And you as a guy who's played receiver, that. So, and I think we've seen that with him. So even though there's no help coming in, so to speak, Neighbors is out for the year. He's not coming back. I still think that Dart can do some good things. I thought, Brian Daboll did a really good job with him, developing him. I'm kind of sad to see Brian go. I understand why he went, because the results are the results. But, Dart's obviously still going to be playing in the same system for the last 7 games or 6 games. Hopefully he gets back next week. And, so I expect to see, his star continue to rise.
Expectations for Jameis Winston this week now that he's been named QB1, because he's a fan favorite. He's a guy we know has had some success in this league, but watching Jameis Winston play at times can be a bit of a roller coaster. So what do you think? What are you looking forward to, I guess, with Jameis Winston now replacing Russell Wilson as the next guy in line to be behind Jackson Dart?
Well, first of all, buckle up. So it's going to be a ride, but I think that's going to be, hopefully, and I think maybe, Kafka said this was all his decision, and I think it was a good decision. Whether there was influence from outside, upstairs, I don't know, but he said it was his decision. I think it was an important decision to make, because I think if you rolled out Russell Wilson on Sunday, we know, I mean, the stadium's right over here, that place is going to be 50, 60, maybe 70% cheeseheads in there on Sunday. I mean, the Packers fans travel, as we know, and I think that there would have been a lot. The Giant fans that do show up, they don't want to see Russell Wilson play. I think at least there's an element of the possibility of a little bit of fun with with Jameis slinging it around a little bit, as we know. Now, hopefully, he throws more touchdowns than interceptions, which is sometimes a challenge. But Jameis has been a fun guy. You've been in that locker room here this year. He's been uber supportive. So I think if there's anything for the Giant fan who's obviously extremely disappointed, and justifiably so, to look forward to on Sunday, it's to maybe see him slinging the ball around. Because quite honestly, I thought Russell, and I'm not trying to kill Russell here, but he looked withdrawn, nervous, and lost in Chicago the other day. I mean, I couldn't believe It was as if they put some unprepared. It was as if they put DeVito in for the first time, and Daboll. Remember when Daboll was, wouldn't let him throw the ball. That's what I felt like with Russell Wilson, and I'm thinking this is Super Bowl champion, guy's going to go to the Hall of Fame. So I like what they're doing with Winston. I mean, I'm going to be covering the game, so it's going to make it more interesting for me, selfishly. And listen, he's probably going to be rusty, and he might not be good. We know. I mean, look, you saw how well the Packers defense played the other day against Philly. So it's not going to be an easy task, but at least it's something to look to that's going to be a little different.
And as a former reserve receiver, special teams guy that got limited reps on the offensive side of things, selfishly, I'm looking forward to seeing a guy like Gunnar Olszewski, who, as you see, the last couple plays in the 49ers game came up big on the corner route, the touchdown pass from Jackson Dart. But he is someone that Jameis Winston relied on a lot during the spring and during the summer in terms of training camp and the preseason. So that's a guy. I know that's not like the sexy pick or anything, especially going up against. He's a football guy.
He's a football player. You know what I mean? He doesn't have the size, but he's got a lot of heart.
Yep.
And you see it in his return game. So I agree with you. Listen, I mean, this is what you're looking at in the last 7 weeks. I mean, there's not much else to look to. Not to say he's the future receiver for the Giants, but, I mean, listen, I would think that all of the Giant receivers will be looking forward to Jameis slinging it around, because I think we pretty much know he's gonna. And the Packers are pretty good against the run, so I'm not expecting this to be a dominant running game, offensively for the Giants either. So, listen, I think at the end of the day, you want to give somebody a chance, the Giant fan who's obviously downtrodden, something to look forward to and cheer for on Sunday.
They want to see effort. They want to see guys come out and compete, and I think that's what Gunnar has done the entire time. He's kind of gotten back here since the last year. Last but not least, we could talk about a little bit of the coaching changes. Tight ends coach Tim Kelly, who has called plays in the NFL before, gets bumped up to OC. But a lot of people are going to be talking about the change that didn't happen. Defensive coordinator Mike Kafka is still going to go with Shane Bourne as DC. So first, what do you think of Tim Kelly now being, I guess, offensive coordinator in name, and then Kafka not making any changes on the defensive side of the football?
Brandon, I think with Kelly, and you kind of said it right there in name. I mean, he basically all Kafka that I see was doing is just placing somebody in the offensive coordinator chair. Mike is going to continue to call plays, which he said to us is which is going to be a difficult. It's a lot on somebody's plate. A lot of head coaches who are, Dave's wasn't calling plays, a lot of the time, and he was, that's what he loves to do the most. So. Yeah, I think the Kelly thing is. I don't think you're going to see anything dramatic changes there in the way the offense, plays. In terms of the Bowen thing, I really listen. I don't know Shane well. I'm here. I talked to him in the press. We don't have one-on-one time with these guys. He seems like a super nice guy. I just don't. I have not seen a particular identity on defense here since he got here, in my opinion. And I really feel like if he had been replaced. I don't have all the answers with whom, I don't know, but I think that to some degree, I think Brian Daboll was almost to a fault loyal to his people. I feel like he probably should have been replaced after the Denver game. After what happened in Dallas, they let it happen again in Denver. I think that should have been the last straw for Shane, and maybe Daboll saves his job, if they don't blow for these fourth quarter leads. So, we'll see. Listen, in fairness, I thought the Giants played the run a lot better than they had. Obviously, a lot better than they had because they've been gashed. The numbers weren't great at the end of the day, but that was because Chicago got some stuff late in the game. But I actually thought they improved their run defense against Chicago, which was number 2 in the league in rushing defense last week. But we just need to see more. I get it; the players make the plays, but we're just. I don't like the way they've used Abdul Carter. I just don't feel like they've kind of, isolated and given him as much of a chance to make plays. I'm not trying to make excuses for the kid. Obviously, but I don't know. It's just there's been something missing on that offense. On that defense, and I can't 100% put my finger on it. But the common denominator is Shane. Shane Bowen. I just feel like. It's not been a good product on the field, and compared to what the talent they have on the field, if that makes any sense.
Lastly, you've covered New York sports for a long time. You've gone through coaching changes and regimes. Tibbs gets replaced by Mike Brown. Robert Saleh gets replaced by Aaron Glenn, and now Mike Kafka on the interim level replaces Brian Daboll. Is this coaching change comparable to any that you've seen in New York sports history?
Well, there's been too many of them in the last few years for both teams, really. I don't know that I would compare it to anything. I am a little bit curious to see how the Giants operate under Kafka. I mean, mostly because he's been, as I mentioned up top, he's been a head coach candidate for the last few years. He's been getting a lot of interviews. I have never. And this is maybe an unfair thing to say, but it's just an impression that I have. He doesn't come off to me as a incredible leader of men, if that makes any sense. He's very kind of milquetoast, kind of flat line. But again, we don't know what goes on behind closed doors, So I think this is a massive opportunity for him, to show how the operation looks under his watch, And he's got 7 games to do it.
All right, 7 games to do that. Giants take on the Packers 1 p.m. on Sunday right there at MetLife Stadium. For Mark Cannizzaro, I'm Brandon London. Thanks for watching Blue Rush.